picture a battery that never degrades. Not one that degrades slowly. Not one that lasts longer than lithium. One that runs through 20 years of daily charge and discharge cycles and comes out the other side performing exactly the same as the day it was installed. No capacity loss, no fade, no replacement. Just a pool of molten calcium sitting in a sealed container, storing and releasing electricity indefinitely. That sounds like science fiction. It is not. China just demonstrated it at laboratory scale, and the implications for the global energy system are harder to overstate than almost anything else happening in energy storage right now. Here is the problem this solves. The world is installing solar and wind capacity at a record pace. In 2025, global battery storage deployments hit 275.3 gigawatt hours, a 61% increase in a single year. China alone added 167 gigawatt hours. The numbers are staggering, but there is a wall that all of this momentum is running into. Solar panels produce power when the sun shines. Wind turbines spin when the wind blows. The grid needs power constantly. The gap between when renewable energy is produced and when it is needed is the core problem of the entire clean energy transition. And lithium-ion batteries, the technology the world has bet almost everything on to solve that gap, are starting to show their limits. Not because they are bad technology, because the problem is bigger than what lithium can handle. And China just found a different material that can. The lithium problem is not a secret. The industry has known about it for years and has been hoping scale and engineering improvements would outrun it. They have not. Lithium-ion batteries degrade. Every charge cycle puts stress on the electrodes. Dendrites form inside the cell. Capacity fades. A lithium battery that stores 100 units of energy on day 1 will store less on day 500, less again on day 1000. And at some point it needs to be replaced. For an electric vehicle, that degradation happens over a decade or so, and it is manageable. For a grid storage installation that needs to function for 20 or 30 years to make the economics work, it is a fundamental problem. You are not just buying a battery, you are buying a battery plus the cost of replacing it 1 or 2 times over the project lifetime. And that replacement cost, combined with the material cost of lithium itself, is the reason grid storage at the scale the clean energy transition demands is still not economically viable everywhere it needs to be. Lithium is not abundant everywhere. It is concentrated in a small number of countries, primarily in South America's Lithium Triangle and in Australia. The supply chain is tight. The geopolitics are complicated. The price is volatile. And the demand that is coming from electric vehicles, from grid storage, from data centers hungry for backup power is going to dwarf what the current supply chain can deliver at reasonable cost. The lithium bottleneck is not a future problem. It is already the binding constraint on how fast the clean energy transition can move. Liquid metal batteries are a completely different approach to storing electricity. Instead of the solid electrodes and liquid electrolyte of a lithium-ion cell, a liquid metal battery uses 3 liquid layers that separate themselves automatically by density, the same way oil floats on water. The bottom layer is a dense liquid metal that acts as the positive electrode. The middle layer is a molten salt that conducts ions between the electrodes. The top layer is a lighter liquid metal that acts as the negative electrode. When the battery charges, metal ions move through the molten salt from the bottom electrode to the top. When it discharges, they move back. The genius of this design is what it eliminates. There are no solid electrodes to crack under stress. There are no dendrites to form because the electrode is already liquid. There is no separator membrane to degrade because the layers separate themselves by density. There is no mechanism for the kind of capacity fade that plagues lithium batteries because the active materials are simply moving ions between 2 pools of liquid metal. The cell self-heals every time it cycles. Every discharge resets the electrode surfaces back to their liquid state. Every charge moves the ions back to their starting position. The battery does not remember its previous cycles the way a solid electrode battery does. It simply operates, cycle after cycle after cycle. That is why liquid metal batteries are designed for cycle lives that exceed what any solid electrode chemistry can match. 20 years of daily cycling is the target, and Chinese researchers are demonstrating they can hit it. The specific chemistry China has advanced centers on calcium. Calcium is the fifth most abundant element in the Earth's crust. It is not a rare earth. It is not concentrated in a handful of countries. It is everywhere. Limestone is calcium carbonate. Concrete is full of it. The bones in your body are made of it. From a supply chain perspective, calcium is the opposite of lithium. There is no calcium triangle that a single country controls. There is no calcium price spike when demand accelerates. You cannot sanction your way to a calcium shortage. That abundance is not a minor detail. It is the entire strategic logic of building grid storage around calcium rather than lithium. The research team at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology published a breakthrough in February 2026 in the journal Advanced Science. By engineering a novel quasi-solid-state electrolyte from redox active covalent organic frameworks, they solved the two core problems that had held calcium batteries back for years. First, poor ion transport. Calcium ions are larger and doubly charged compared to lithium ions, which made them move slowly through conventional electrolytes. The new framework electrolyte solved that. Second, limited stability. Previous calcium battery designs degraded through unwanted side reactions at the electrode interfaces. The covalent organic framework electrolyte blocked those reactions. The result is a calcium battery that moves ions efficiently, stays stable over long cycling, and does not depend on any material that is geopolitically sensitive or physically scarce. A separate line of liquid metal battery research coming out of Chinese institutions focuses on sodium-based liquid metal systems, and in March 2026, a team published results in energy and environmental materials that address the last major technical challenge standing between liquid metal batteries and commercial grid deployment: the operating temperature problem. Traditional liquid metal batteries require temperatures above 300 degrees Celsius to keep the metal electrodes molten. That thermal requirement adds cost and complexity. It means the battery needs insulation. It means startup time before the system is ready. It means thermal management systems that add expense. The Chinese research team designed a new molten salt electrolyte based on large-sized anions that dramatically lowers the melting point. Using a sodium and potassium fluorosulfonamide electrolyte mixture at a 1:1 molar ratio, they achieved stable operation at temperatures low enough to dramatically reduce the engineering burden of maintaining the system at operating temperature. Sodium metal has a melting point of around 98 degrees Celsius. That is hot water temperature compared to the 300+ degrees of earlier designs. At that operating temperature, the insulation requirements drop. The startup time drops, the thermal management cost drops, and the gap between laboratory demonstration and commercial product narrows significantly. Meanwhile, Ambry Inc. has already commercialized a calcium alloy liquid metal battery system in the United States, assembling multi-cell batteries that store 1 megawatt-hour at 250 kilowatts power in a 10-foot container operating at above 80% DC efficiency with a 500 millisecond response time. Now connect this to what is happening in the broader Chinese energy storage deployment picture. China added 167 gigawatt-hours of new battery storage capacity in 2025. It is expected to add 203.5 gigawatt-hours in 2026. That is not a program or a pilot. That is the largest grid storage deployment in human history happening in real time. And it is happening inside a country that has simultaneously identified lithium as a strategic vulnerability and funded multiple parallel research programs to get beyond it. CATL, the world's largest battery manufacturer, unveiled its sodium-ion Nextra battery for grid storage at EC 2026 in Beijing in April 2026, positioning it as the world's first platform-based sodium-ion battery designed specifically for energy storage applications. CATL's strategy is explicit: sodium and lithium as dual stars, two parallel chemistries serving different applications, rather than a single replacement. Sodium-ion for cost-sensitive, high-safety, cold climate applications. Lithium for high energy density where it is still necessary. And behind both of those, the longer-term research programs into calcium and liquid metal chemistries that offer the decade-scale lifespans that neither lithium nor sodium can currently match. China is not betting on one technology. It is building a portfolio across multiple chemistries simultaneously and deploying them at a scale that creates the manufacturing learning curves that drive costs down faster than any laboratory program alone can achieve. The strategic picture here goes beyond any single battery chemistry. What China is building is the complete energy storage ecosystem. From the fundamental research side, Chinese universities and institutions are publishing cutting-edge work on calcium-ion, sodium liquid metal, and multi-element battery chemistries. From the manufacturing side, CATL, BYD, and a growing list of second-tier manufacturers are deploying grid storage at a pace that is creating the largest body of real-world operational data on battery storage systems anywhere in the world. From the policy side, the government's storage targets create guaranteed demand that allows manufacturers to invest in scale before commercial economics fully justify it. And from the material side, the deliberate shift towards sodium and calcium is a direct response to the recognition that lithium, as the world's primary storage material, creates both a cost constraint and a supply chain vulnerability that becomes more dangerous as the scale of deployment grows. The Western world has largely bet on lithium-ion improving through incremental engineering, on solid-state batteries arriving in the medium term, and on the hope that lithium supply will expand fast enough to meet demand. China is running a different strategy. Build at scale with what works now. Fund the research for what works in 10 years. And make sure the 10-year solution does not depend on any material that can be disrupted by geography or geopolitics. Liquid metal batteries with calcium or sodium electrodes fit that strategy perfectly. Abundant materials, decade-scale lifespans, grid-scale economics that improve with every installation. The lifespan number is the detail that changes the economic calculation most dramatically. A lithium-ion grid storage installation today is typically designed around a 15-year asset life, after which the batteries have degraded enough that the system needs to be partially or fully replaced. That replacement is not just a cost. It is a logistical event. Old battery modules need to be decommissioned and recycled. New modules need to be manufactured, shipped, and installed. The grid operator has to manage the transition. The carbon cost of manufacturing the replacement batteries has to be accounted for in any honest life cycle analysis. A liquid metal battery with a 20-plus year lifespan and no meaningful capacity fade changes all of that. The battery you install is the battery you operate for the life of the project. No replacement cycle, no mid-project capital cost, no recycling logistics at year 15. The levelized cost of storage over the project lifetime drops dramatically even if the upfront cost per kilowatt hour is higher than lithium. Because the denominator, the total energy delivered over the battery's life, is so much larger. Energy analysts who have modeled this consistently find that a battery with twice the lifespan at 1.5 times the upfront cost is cheaper per kilowatt hour of energy delivered over 30 years than a lithium battery at current prices. That economic math is what makes liquid metal batteries, once they reach commercial scale, potentially more disruptive to the energy storage market than any incremental improvement in lithium-ion chemistry could be. There is a question worth asking at this point. If liquid metal batteries are so promising, why are they not already deployed everywhere? The answer is temperature and the engineering that comes with it. The high operating temperature of traditional liquid metal designs has been the primary obstacle to commercialization. Thermal management adds cost. Cold startups add complexity. The insulation requirements add bulk. These are not fundamental physics problems. They are engineering problems. And engineering problems get solved when enough money, talent, and institutional focus are directed at them. The Chinese research programs lowering the operating temperature of sodium liquid metal batteries using new molten salt electrolytes are directly attacking the primary commercial barrier. Ambry's commercial deployment in the United States with calcium alloy chemistry at lower temperatures demonstrates that the temperature problem is solvable and has been solved at least partially already. The trajectory is clear. Operating temperatures are coming down. Manufacturing costs are coming down. The engineering challenges are being solved one by one. And behind all of this, China has an industrial deployment program that is creating the real-world scale needed to discover and solve the remaining challenges faster than any laboratory program can. The same dynamic that drove lithium-ion battery costs down 97% over the past 3 decades, volume manufacturing creating learning curves, is being applied to the next generation of storage chemistries, and China is doing most of the manufacturing. Here is the full picture. The world needs to store enormous amounts of renewable energy to complete the clean energy transition. The current dominant technology, lithium-ion, is delivering at scale but has fundamental limits in lifespan, material abundance, and cost at the scale needed. China is simultaneously deploying lithium-ion and sodium-ion at record pace while funding the research programs that will produce the decade-scale storage the grid ultimately needs. Liquid metal batteries, based on abundant calcium or sodium rather than scarce lithium, with lifespan targets exceeding 20 years and no meaningful capacity fade, represent the most credible path to grid storage that is truly permanent rather than just long-lasting. The February 2026 breakthrough from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology solving calcium ion transport and stability. The March 2026 result from Chinese researchers on low-temperature sodium liquid metal electrolytes. CATL deploying sodium-ion grid storage at commercial scale in 2026. 200 gigawatt-hours of new storage being added in China this year alone. These are not isolated events, they are points on a line. And the line points toward an energy storage system that does not depend on the materials that are scarce, that does not degrade on the timescale that requires replacement, and that does not need to be manufactured by a supply chain concentrated in countries that may or may not cooperate with your energy transition goals. China is building that system. The pool of molten calcium humming in a laboratory in Shenzhen today may be the foundation of the grid that powers the world in 2050. Subscribe if you want to follow that line before the rest of the world connects the dots. And leave your answer in the comments. If batteries can last 20 years without degrading, what happens to the entire business model of the energy storage industry built around replacement cycles?